The Gita 1 Part 2. Numerous books upon that subject alone defend the Vedas. If you tell their authors that the Vedas must have been pronounced by men first, they will simply laugh. You never heard of any man uttering them for the first time. Take Buddha's words. There is a tradition that he lived and spoke these words many times before. If the Christian stands up and says, "My religion is a historical religion and therefore yours is wrong and ours is true," the Mimamsaka replies, "Yours being historical, you confess that a man invented it 1900 years ago. That which is true must be finite, must be infinite and eternal. That is one test of truth. It never decays, it is always the same. You confess your religion was created by such and such a man. The Vedas were not, by no prophets or anything, only infinite words, infinite by their very nature, from which the whole universe comes and goes. In the abstract, it is perfectly correct. The sound must be the beginning of creation. There must be germ sounds like germplasm. There cannot be any ideas without the words. Whenever there are sensations, ideas, emotions, there must be words. The difficulty is when they say that these four books are the Vedas and nothing else. Then the Buddhist will stand up and say, "Ours are Vedas. They were revealed to us later on." That cannot be. Nature does not go on in that way. Nature does not manifest her laws bit by bit, an inch of gravitation today and another inch tomorrow. No, every law is complete. There is no evolution in law at all. It is given once and forever. It is all nonsense, this new religion and better inspiration and all that. It means nothing. There may be 100,000 laws and man may know only a few today. We discover them, that is all. Those old priests, with their tremendous claims about eternal words, have dethroned the gods, took the place of the gods. They said, "You do not understand the power of words, and you will get what you want. We know how to use them. We are the living gods of the world. Pay us, we will manipulate the words, and you will get what you want." Can you pronounce the words yourself? You cannot. For mind you, one mistake will produce the opposite effect. You want to be rich, handsome, have a long life, a fine husband, only pay the priest and keep quiet. Yet there is another side. The ideal of the first part of the Vedas is entirely different from the ideal of the other part, the Upanishads. The ideal of the first part coincides with that of all other religions of the world except the Vedanta. The ideal is enjoyment here and hereafter, man and wife, husband and children. Pay your dollar and the priest will give you a certificate and you will have a happy time afterwards in heaven. You will find all your people there and have this merry-go-round without end. No tears, no weeping, only laughing. No stomachache, but yet eating. No headache, but yet parties. That considered the priest was the highest goal of man. There is another idea in this philosophy which is according to your modern ideas. Man is a slave of nature, and slave eternally he has got to remain. We call it karma. Karma means law, and it applies everywhere. Everything is bound by karma. Is there no way out? No. Remain slaves all through the years, fine slaves. We will manipulate the words so that you will only have the good and not the bad side of all if you will pay us enough. That was the ideal of the Mimsakas. These are the ideals which are popular throughout the ages. The vast mass of mankind are never thinkers. Even if they try to think, the effect of the vast mass of superstitions on them is terrible. The moment they weaken, one blow comes and the backbone breaks into 20 pieces. They can only be moved by lures and threats. They can never move of their own accord. They must be frightened, horrified, or terrorized, and they are your slaves forever. They have nothing else to do but to pay and obey. Everything else is done by the priest. How much easier religion comes or becomes. You see, you have nothing to do. Go home and sit quietly. Somebody is doing the whole thing for you. Poor, poor animals. Side by side, there was the other system. The Upanishads are diametrically opposite in all their conclusions. First of all, the Upanishads believe in God, the creator of the universe, its ruler. You find later on the idea of benign providence. It is an entirely opposite conception. Now, although we hear the priest, the ideal is much more subtle. Instead of many gods, they made one God. The second idea, that you are all bound by the law of karma, the Upanishads admit, but they declare the way out. The goal of man is to go beyond law. And enjoyment can never be the goal, because enjoyment can only be in nature. In the third place, the Upanishads condemn all the sacrifices and say this is mummery. That may give you all you want, but it is not desirable, for the more you get, the more you want, and you run round and round in a circle eternally, never getting to the end, enjoying and weeping. Such a thing as eternal happiness is impossible anywhere. It is only a child's dream. The same energy becomes joy and sorrow. I have changed my psychology a bit today. I have found the most curious fact. You have a certain idea and you do not want to have it, and you think of something else, and the idea you want to suppress is entirely suppressed. What is that idea? I saw it come out in 15 minutes. It came out and staggered me. It was strong and it came in such a violent and terrible fashion that I thought here was a madman. And when it was over, all that had happened was a suppression of the previous emotion. What came out? It was my own bad impression which had to be worked out. Nature will have her way. What can suppression do? That is a terrible statement in the Gita. It seems it may be a vain struggle after all. You may have 100,000 urges competing at the same time. You may repress them, but the moment the spring rebounds, the whole thing is there again.